the first time I haven't gone the last. So, 4 months before I got my first tattoo, I warned my parents I was going to do that. My dad said, it's your body, do whatever you want. My mom said, don't do that, that's gross. My mom's a convert, she doesn't really understand how these things work. My name is Ben Roberts. I'm an educator, a Jew, and a writer, and yes, I have a tattoo. When I finally got home after getting that tattoo, I was walking up the stairs in some shorts, and my dad noticed my tattoo, and he goes, is that a tattoo? Aw, shit. My mom, meanwhile, thought it was actually kind of nice and tasteful, which means they completely flip-flop. And this was interesting to me, because my mom's the convert and way more religious, and my dad is, of course, really Jewish and has this culture. We have this thing about tattoos in Judaism where a lot of us like to get it, but for a lot of us, it gets under our skin in a different way. And that's an issue. Yet, we have this culture of tattooing. Mostly you're going to hear that your Nana says that you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. So tonight, my goal is to examine this culture by explaining how tattoos work, explaining what Judaism really thinks of them, and a little bit about the history of tattoos. And hopefully that will give you a little bit of perspective. So tattoos have been around for 6,000 years. The first tattoos were found on mummies, dating back to 5,000 years in Italy and 6,000 years in Peru. They were primarily used medicinally to mark acupuncture points for medicine. So, not that bad. However, historically, a lot of people believe that they were used by pagans. Now, the word tattoo only dates back to the 1700s, when it came from the Polynesian ta or the Tahitian tatau, meaning to write or to strike. So, the word hasn't been around that long. And if we really look at how it works, what we're doing is we're punching a needle into our skin underneath the top layer to the dermis, where the ink gets trapped. Our body does break this down. That's why tattoos fade. But it sits there and it gets eaten, so we're seeing dead skin and other stuff. If we were to live an infinite amount of time, our tattoo would go away completely. So they aren't actually permanent. However, we're not permanent. So we die before then, nothing's breaking it down, that's why they last. Now, Judaism actually says that we aren't allowed to make gashes in our flesh for the dead, or incise marks on ourselves. And incise marks is ketuvet ka'aka, which means write and incise. And it's the only place where one of those words is in the Torah, so it's kind of hard to translate. So we have to do a lot of interpretation to get there. This is like interpreting having milk and meat together from our thing, or not allowing gays for not allowing this. I mean, I think that's silly. It's a weird way to interpret things, and it takes a lot of work. Now, we do have other things that say that tattooing is wrong. All of our commentaries. The Mishnah Makot says that it's only if it's permanent. So henna tattoos are okay. If you write down a cutie's number on your hand, that's okay. But anything that lasts is a problem. Now, a little bit later on, you have Rabbi Ben Simeon who says that it's because it's a god's name that it's a problem. However, the Babylonian Talmud says, which god? If it's a pagan god, that's a problem. If it's our god, that's okay. So we have contrary interpretations of what's going on here. Finally, Maimonides comes along and says, tattooing would be fine except for B'Tselem Elohim, which means that we're made in the image of God. And marring our body is kind of against that. And, well, that's a problem. But there are no consequences laid out. So this story about cemeteries that our Nana told us, where does it come from? The truth is there are small clubs that say you can't be buried there, but that's not a true thing. You can be buried in a Jewish cemetery with a tattoo. So tattooing has become this incredible idea of self-representation. And the consequences are more in the tattoos themselves than in anything else. If you get the wrong type of tattoo, you're going to be suffering, and my Nana would tell me that about all tattoos, but that's just her. And if we're really being honest, what it comes down to these days is that we still have this problem with tattooing because of the Holocaust and the mandatory tattoos. Now we're getting to the point where the last Holocaust survivors are now dying, and we're down to the tail end. We have recordings and other things, but we also have this culture of tattooing ourselves in honor of our family members that we've lost. Which is strange because that's the one thing that commandment does prohibit, is incising our flesh for the dead. So that's kind of an irony, because even my parents won't argue with a Holocaust tattoo like that. However, if we get Jewish words, if we get the written word, the things that really define us as Jews put on our body, if we get images, I don't think that's a problem. In fact, I think that's representing our culture super successfully. So, I'm not done getting tattooed. I'm going to get a golem as my next tattoo. It's going to be my Jewish tattoo. But for tonight, I'm done talking, and you guys should go get something other than ink in your body, because it's break time.